Hi, everyone. Welcome to Angie and Christie Right Now. This week on our show, we are going to be discussing the top 5 ways to find time to write during Nano. Nano is important to us writers, right, Angie?
It really is. Yeah. National Novel Writing Month. That starts every November 1st. Authors from around the globe get together or by themselves, typically because we're writers, and write. And the goal is to write 50,000 words on your latest manuscript. That is what we're gearing up for. That is what we're planning on doing. And that is what the series of videos that we're bringing out for this next month of October are all in preparation for Nano. And so that's what this is. Some of our favorite tips.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, 50,000 words is nothing to laugh at, especially when you're doing it in a month. I've never been able to do it. So I actually set my goal at 25, which, everybody can set their own goals. There's no shame in even doing. If you've never written a novel before, then even if you get through a couple of chapters, hey, high five. I'm good with that. It's very nice. I think that tips on, especially the one that we're doing right now, is finding time to write. Because if you're holding a full-time job, or if you've got, if you're holding a full-time job, if you've got kids at home, and if both of those are happening, that's hard. That's really hard, right? So finding time is good. And here are some of our favorite tips on how to find time to do Nano. It's only for a month, so you can do this.
Yes.
So number 5 is write in small time slots. So everybody during the day has like 10 minutes or 15 minutes where you could be doing something, but this time during November, which is the National Novel Writing Month, write instead. So if you have 10 minutes while you're sitting on the bus, sitting on the train, you can use pen and paper even, you know what I mean? So I say, use it while you have it. If you wake up 10 minutes earlier and the kids are still asleep for that 10 minutes, sit down, write something.
Yes, exactly. Because there's always going to be a reason why you can't write. There will always be something coming up that is going to put you in a position where you're thinking, I don't have time. I'm tired. The kids are like, they need more time. This is time that you are devoting to yourself only for 1 month. Tell yourself, this is something important to me that I want to do for myself. And it's okay if you want to do that for yourself. It's okay if you want to use your time, just even if it's just a small chunk of 15 minutes during your 15-minute break to write some words, right? Because every word matters. And in Nano, depending on how big your goals are, like if you only do 10,000 words, you do 20,000, you can choose your own goal. As long as you are taking active steps to get towards those goals, then you're going to be successful because it all matters. Every word matters.
I couldn't agree more with you. There are some days as writers where we only get 300 words down. There's some days in writers where everything is going your way and you all of a sudden you turn around, you've got 2,000 words down. And both of those days should be celebrated because exactly what you're saying, every word that you write is closer to the end of the book. So absolutely. So lunch times, break times, kids aren't around time, waiting in the car for the kids to finish their soccer practice, their field hockey practice, their baseball practice, whatever is good time.
Driving home, if you have a long commute,
yes,
that is the perfect time.
On the train, on the bus. Yeah, if
you're a notepad, a pencil, and if you have to, if you can't use your computer, use your laptop or your phone. If you're like taking a jog, you can dictate that. There are different dictation programs you can use, and we're going to go over some of those later in a different video, but some ideas to try and help you condense your time and use it the most effective way to get those words out.
That's it. Exactly. And number 4, speaking of tools, is use tools. Look at that, Angie. I know that you've used dictation before, right?
Yeah, I have the dragon, which hates me and loves me at the same time. The dragon, which saves my poor little wrists and allows me to write, but also like insert its own version of what I'm saying into the story. It wants to be part of it. The whole experience is a dragon, so it's like it has its own wants and needs that it wants to fulfill. So you do, have to take those into account. Like sometimes some programs are slower and buggier than others. If you're the type of person who isn't a big talker, who has difficulty talking, then dictation is difficult. I'm not a big talker. You may not be able to tell by this video, but I'm not a really chatty person. I don't really talk a lot. And so like doing the dictation is really hard for me because it's different. Talking and writing your ideas on paper or typing your ideas on paper, feels different than it does when you're speaking it. But the more you practice at it, the better you get. And that's one of the things that will help you get your words on paper faster. Like if you can't type really fast, dictating it. If you're stuck with ideas, sometimes roadblock can be helped by dictating. And if you dictate it, you can kind of get it on paper and then flesh it out later if you want. So dictation is one of those great things that can help.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that in our previous podcast lives, we interviewed a lot of authors who told us that they could write a novel much faster by using dictation because their brains weren't filtering what they were saying, and then they could edit later, like it's like a verbal, like just whatever comes out, and then you can edit later, but that they got those words out faster because they were dictating. So that's a good thing. And then another author that we interviewed used his phone memo I think it's a memo.
Yeah, it's a memo. Yeah, there's a memo function app on the phones.
Yeah, and while he was jogging, doing his cardio in the morning, he would actually dictate part of his book. And he said he got the weird looks, and I'm sure he did. But who cares? Like, you're doing some great work by doing that. So yeah, no, I think that's something that I've always wanted to try. I never did, because I'm always either listening to a book if I'm on a trail or watching a TV show on the treadmill, but I need to just shut those off and try to dictate. That would be very cool.
Yeah, let us know how that goes, because I've always wanted to try and I never have.
So. Yeah, like even on a walk, you don't have to be running. You could be out on a walk or whatever. I find like sometimes just because you are, especially for running, that's what we had talked with this author, is because you are pushing yourself to not stop, right? Like every step, especially at the end of the run, every step that you're taking is like, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. You're in this mode of like, I can do this, I can do this. So because your brain is focusing on not stopping, you're not going to stop talking either. You're just going to talk. So I actually really want to try that out. So, and our final tool, which is like really basic, but it's pen and paper.
Yeah, right.
Like
having a little notepad.
Right? Like, I mean, even if it's just jotting down an idea that's going to spark that 200-word paragraph at the end of the day, when you're really tired and you can't really think, but at the beginning of the day, you had this great idea. I think it's Neil Gaiman that actually writes all his stories still with a pen and paper. So there's definitely something said about that.
I was thinking about sticky pads because for a while I was trying to outline, and I'm a pantser, so outlining for me is difficult. But I was trying this new method of outlining where I would take a sticky note and write my notes down on the sticky note, and then just like kind of paste them on a wall. It was my closet wall. And then and like this is this chapter and this is just chapter. And so, I would write those at work as I'm like, doing my thing, and an idea would pop in my head, and I'd hurry up and I'd like write it down on a sticky, and then I'd keep them, and then I'd go home, and then I just kind of post them up, where I wanted them on my little flow chart or memory board or whatever it's called.
And you can do the same thing with there was another author that we interviewed that used index cards. You could do the same thing with those. If you carry a little pack of index cards with you, you could actually, like, even if it's a piece of like the discussion between two dialogue between two characters, like that all of a sudden pops in your head, like, ooh, that would be super good, or like, I don't know. I think
if you don't write it down, sometimes that is gone. Like you can have something brilliant that comes into your head, and then you don't write it down. The next thing you know is gone. It's like next thing.
That's right. Exactly. I've got other things to think about. Sorry.
Right.
So those are our tips for tools that you can use to. Of course, there's like the computer, but like, I mean, you can't always have your computer with you. So
yeah.
Number 3 is especially for NaNoWriMo, because it's only 1 month and it give up something. It's kind
not
of
chocolate.
Not chocolate. Oh my goodness. Or coffee. Do that. Or exercise, actually, because I think exercising is important. So I think that should be a priority. But or coffee or chocolate. But I think that you could definitely give up TV shows for an hour every night.
Yeah, for an hour.
There's limits.
But seriously, I mean, you have to. I mean, if you don't, then you get sucked into some drama, and next thing you know, it's like 5 hours later, and you're like, man, I could have been writing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Although I think there is something to be said about watching TV shows for writers, but for Nano, skip an hour and use that hour to write.
Yeah.
And then, or you can actually, this is sad too, but it's only for a month. Maybe don't go out with your friends on the weekend and instead use those 2 or 3 hours to write, because weekends are
Or
usually
if you
better.
do go out with your friend, well, but that's like adding it, not like giving up.
But
So I was gonna just say, just take some paper with you, but we already discussed that particular
but
method
but that's
earlier.
not a bad idea. And even like if you're with your friends, sometimes discussing what you're going to be writing about with your friends kind of sparks an idea. So that I would consider that part of the writing process too, because
Yeah.
sometimes even staring at an empty screen is a part of the writing process. So,
Well, and then giving up sleep. I
oh
mean,
no, you have to. Yeah. No, I think like, I mean, even giving
like
up like
getting up an hour early or going, yeah.
exactly, like an hour early for a month isn't going to be the end of you. Even if it's a half hour earlier in the morning and you go to bed half an hour later at night,
Mhm.
like, yeah, I think you have, it's just for a month, just for a month. And you don't have to do it every day of the month. Like, I mean, if you
Mhm.
can get to
Yeah,
your
I mean,
goal.
if one day you write like 2,000 words or, I mean, and it depends on your goal too. So I think, I can't remember what the goal was for Nano. Like if you want to get 50,000 words, I think you have to write like 17,000
Yeah,
words, something
something
like
like
that. I
that
can't remember.
per day. Yeah.
And then, but if there are some days where you write, 3,000 words, say you're writing on a weekend and you have the entire day to write and you
Yeah.
get like, 1,000 words written or whatever,
You're on a roll.
right, you're like flying through it. You're doing a zero draft and it's not even like, yeah, you're just flying. Well, those are days that those are words that you can apply to other days too.
Yeah.
So you can keep on pushing yourself as well. If your goal is to get to 50,000 and then to actually complete your book. So 50,000 is not a really a complete book. So,
No,
but it is a huge chunk of one.
you're definitely into the muddy middle by the time,
Oh
or
yeah.
even 3/4 of the muddy middle. So that's a big chunk.
Mhm. Unless you're writing like a middle grade or
Yeah. And then you're done. So
you're
that's really good. So basically, Angie and I are saying be antisocial for one. Skip
right.
on sleep, skip on friends, skip on TV and movies.
Well, no, I'm not saying that though. I'm not saying that the antisocial part, because we have one that I think that's coming up where it doesn't have to be antisocial, right?
You're absolutely true. So if you feel like it, if this is the only way that you can get your time, then be that way. It's worked for a lot of people.
Yeah, and the chances are, if you're going to be writing, it is going to be kind of a lonely thing where you're just you and your book and your ideas. Well, not lonely, because I guess you're like in your head and you're with your characters and
Yeah,
they entertain you as much as you choose to let them.
absolutely.
But yeah, it is hard to try and
You can't
have
do
someone
both.
with you all the time when you're writing. I think
Exactly.
it's because I said that because whenever I write, I'm with you, like, right?
So true. So true. Absolutely. No, it works for us. So yeah. And then number two, and this is actually something that you need to do before you start Nano, and that is get organized. I think that's the only way you're going to survive this. If you have to meal prep, do that. If you have to dedicate a space where you can close a door and tell everybody stay out for the next half hour, do that. Even if it's like a space that normally like you would use as a social place or whatever, like just for 1 month, tell people like this is my writing place. You cannot come in when the door is closed or whatever. Tell everyone. I think that's so important. Just tell everybody, don't call me during this time. Don't knock on the door unless like if the house is on fire or somebody's like, what do they tell the kids? Like, don't call me unless the house is on fire or somebody's bleeding, something like that,
Yeah.
And I think this is harder for the pantser, easier for people like me because I outline, but know what you're going to write when you sit down. I think that makes the difference between staring at the blank page and getting 500 words down. And what would you say for the pantsers that are just
For the pantsers, because right now this is a getting ready for Nano, so it's October right now. So if you're wanting to write in November, and we start November 1st, if you kind of have an idea what you write about, start researching it now. I mean, you don't have to like make an outline or anything if that's not what will help you write, because as a pantser, I have a hard time outlining it. The characters kind of drive what happens, but there are certain things that I need to know about before I start writing. So start doing your research now, because that's one of the things is like if you're researching as you write, then you're going to stop, right, and then have to go on. Okay, well, how do I build a boat, or how do I, And so whatever the book is about, if you've already got the research done, like have a little folder on your computer, put the information in already, so you know where it is, so you can find it quickly if you want to, go to it while you're writing. But yeah, do your research beforehand. That's one of the good things that a pantser can do.
Yeah. And I think for people like me who outline, it's kind of cool that you're a pantser and I'm an outliner, so we can give these hints to different people. But like outlining to me is like vital, because when I don't, I end up all over the place with like sidetracks and whatever. So outlining is crucial. And I would even say, and I think this goes for pantsers too, if you can, if there's any way that you can stop writing in the middle of something really cool, so that the next day you sit down and you know exactly what you want to write, because that scene is so cool and you know exactly
Oh,
you
that's
want
a
to
good
do.
idea. I never even thought about doing that.
Yeah, like I mean, I've done that before where like if you're writing day after day after day and like you're trying to get those words out and you're in the middle of like that scene that you've really wanted to write for a long time, and literally stop myself and say, I'm going to sit down tomorrow, because then that's going to get me started. You go, because sometimes getting started writing is the hardest part of the day.
That's true. My
So,
problem is I always have to end things before I start. And so I always want to have a definite ending. But
yes,
then when I start, then I have to come up with a new beginning.
yes,
But then again, you know what? Let me rephrase that, because I tend to end on cliffhangers, as you know. So
yes, cliffhanging queen. Yes.
yeah, so because I want, when you start the next chapter, that you automatically go to the next chapter to find out what happens. So like I always like to end scenes where there's something new happening in
Yeah.
the next scene, so that it carries on. And that's just how I do it. So
It's the same thing, really. It's something
yeah,
exciting that's happening that you want to write about. So like I think
yeah. So
that's
I guess that worked. Yeah.
absolutely. And finally, our number one tip for Nano is
Sprinting.
sprinting. It works for me and Angie and our writing group really, really well. When we write and we do it in sprints, it's fantastic. We usually do it an hour at a time, but you
Yeah.
can cut that down to 15-minute, 20-minute, and then you just write for 15, 20 minutes. Then you stop, you talk with your buddies about how it went, what's going on. If you have a problem, you can work it out. And then you do another sprint, blah, blah, blah. It's fantastic. I will raise my hand and admit right now that when I first heard about sprint, I was like, you guys are nuts. This is never going to work. There's no way that I can sit at my computer and tell myself I have to write for, and we started really slow. Like, I mean, I think we started with like 15, 20-minute sprint. And after a week, I was like, I need more time. Like 15 minutes, I just get started when I'm on a roll when we stop. Then we did half an hour. And after that, it was like, I need more time. So
I know. Well, because we were doing, we did a sprint together a couple weeks ago, and we were trying to do it for this podcast, and 15-minute increments is what we did. The first was 15, and then I think we did a 20 and then a 30. And we'll be posting those as well. Yeah, it was too short. 15 minutes. You're just into it, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait. But it does. I mean, like some people only have 15 minutes. So,
exactly.
if you only have the 15 minutes to do the sprint, then this is perfect. Put in the time, you write for 15, and then you're done. And then the next time you do another sprint, one of the fun things is you can do a sprint by yourself, but you can also do sprints with other people.
That's
And
so
with
much
other
more fun.
people is a lot of fun as well. And I know we have on YouTube, there are different authors that will do sprints, and they'll have like huge groups of
Yeah.
people who will come on and do live sprints with them. And so, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. And that's what we were doing last Nano, is like I was
Yeah.
doing writing sprints with Courtney and Brooke.
Yes.
And that was a lot of fun.
They have all times, like all different times of the day too. You can write at night with them, right? Like, I mean, they do.
Well, and some are, and they're taped. So you can just go on and you can Google, research and say, oh, okay, so there's here's a sprint, let me put it on. And there's different types. Some people have, sprint in the old castle with music, creepy music, or rain falling, or
Yeah.
you can get in the mood. I think it's all about the mood sometimes. Sometimes you just aren't in the mood to write.
Yes.
And then finding a sprint or something where you can do with other people, or even just watch, it's just a motivator that you need, a motivation you need in order to get started.
Totally agree. It's like all these the energy, even though it's like separated by, like we're all on our computers, we're on it, but the energy is there for everybody to write together. It's very cool. And the other thing that's really cool when you do it with people like consistently is accountability. So, like if somebody is sprinting and at the end of the sprint, they have 500 words and you only have 2. Okay. I'm not saying that it's like bad, but I'm saying that there's always a little competitiveness and you're like, inside going like, darn, like I could have done that if I hadn't been researching so long for stupid things, so I feel like accountability, sometimes peer pressure is good in some specs.
It was funny because when Diana and I were sprinting during one of the nanos, we would get together. We made a plan and we got together every night. So I would come home from work, have dinner, and then right around 9 o'clock, we would write together. So it was that accountability that I had to be on my computer at 9 o'clock, regardless of whatever else was going on in my life, in order to sprint with her. And then, yeah, she was a fast typer. And so, that competition will start going. It got to the point where, because I like to edit as I write.
Yeah.
Well, I just started doing the fast drafting, where you just kind of just let your brain go and you just type out whatever just kind of write it out. And then at the end, you can go back and edit it. And oh my gosh, I mean, I was putting words on the page. I was like, wow. But then, you got to go back and edit that. But it's all about what your style is. And so, yeah, there's different things that you can try in order to make it fun. Writing can be fun and enjoyable. And it's, these are the things that you can do in order to make, more pleasurable for you during Nano.
Yeah, and you can't
accomplish those goals.
You can't edit a blank page, right? So even if what you're writing is completely to be redone, at least you know that you can edit it. So no, I totally agree. And the good news is that during Nano, Angie and I will be doing sprints live. So if you feel like joining us, check out the details underneath this YouTube video, and you can come and join us. We have our own Nano account, right?
Yeah. So basically, on National Novel Writing Month, if you look for us, so I'm Angie Sandro, AngieSandro, Angie Sandro, and I'm on Nano, on the National Novel Writing Month platform. If you go on there, you make your own profile page and then ask to be my buddy, okay? And then we will join up and we can add you to a group. We have Angie and Christie Nano. You're so silly. So, we have our own group, and so if you want to join our group, that way we can all write together, because it's National Novel Writing Month. It only comes once a year. It's so much fun.
So hey, do Nano.
Yeah.
So do Nano with us. That's our new motto. Come Nano with us.
Yes. We'll have fun.
So that's it. Those are our ways to find time for Nano. Hope any of those helped. If you can even choose 2 of those, and anything helps at that point.
Yeah, and definitely, go on Nano, go on the main platform. I think the link will be in the description box below. You find National Novel Writing Month, and then make your own profile. And like I said, look for us. We'll be your buddy. We'll write. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then have all your friends be buddy too. That way you can write with your friends. If you have writing friends, if you don't have writing friends, you're gonna make some. We'll make sure that happens.
Best way to do it. Absolutely. Totally agree. Writing community is strong.
Yes.
Really good. And I think that's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.
Oh yeah. Like and subscribe so you can find us.
Bye.